Hello and welcome to the final episode of In Conversation with Avon, a mini-series discussing global issues impacting the beauty industry today. Consumer behaviors have shifted dramatically over the course of COVID-19 pandemic. Brand switching, online shopping, and experimentation with new digital shopping methods have become the new norm. This month, with the help of my panel, we will discuss how the beauty industry is responding to the ongoing evolution of retail. Without further ado, let me introduce the panel. A warm welcome to Irina Barbalova, Global Lead Health and Beauty at Euromonitor International. Fernanda Scozzafave, Executive Director, Marketing Intelligence and Analytics at Avon. Katherine Theobald, Managing Director, Accenture Interactive. And a warm welcome to Irina, Cretu, CEO at Avon. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Hello.
Irina, let's start with you. In 2021, what are the key social drivers influencing the ongoing evolution of retail?
Yeah, thank you, Siobhan. Two key things I would like to highlight here, and that is emotional well-being and purpose. I think COVID restrictions, which led to home seclusion and social isolation, as well as prevalent concerns around the economic fallout, have really brought the onset of kind of less measurable aspects of health, and that of the emotional and mental toll of the pandemic. In a certain sense, digital activity came as a lifeline to cope with the uncertainty of the outside world and really empowered consumers to take greater control of their health, self-care, and well-being through virtually enabled experiences. So this has necessitated action around embedding emotional support and a sense of communal belonging in branding and communication strategies in the attempt to offset such anxieties. So as an immediate impact of the crisis, consumers turn to digital channels to feel more connected. And many brands responded to that by creating platforms, video content, virtual consultations, live streaming, and so on to facilitate those personal connections. And indeed, one of our most recent Voice of the Consumer Beauty surveys actually indicates that online user reviews, communities, and forums were cited as the top digital purchase influencer for beauty products in 2020. And a second aspect as well is purpose. You know, the divisive nature of the pandemic unraveled a number of structural inequalities. So the narratives around health, beauty, and wellness are really shifting and transitioning from a status symbol to really wellness and beauty access for everyone. And last year certainly embedded that mantra of purpose over profit. So that kind of social welfare aspect, including local community support and so on, have taken, consumers have taken note of that, those reinforced social responsibility, and they will seek those sort of credentials in the future.
And how does Avon's market intelligence reflect this outlook, Fernanda?
Yeah, as Irina mentioned, we also see that the pandemic brought all the uncertainty and fear. And we see that the consumers are really looking for this flexibility and convenience the way that they shop. And also, self-care and self-preservation become much more important. When we see is that it's really about feel goods and not just, take care of your body and your mind, but also about inclusivity. And this is where I think Avon has a big, role to play. Avon really believes that everyone deserves access to beauty. We really democratize beauty and bring this representation and inclusivity so everyone can have it. It's really about beauty for all. So this is the way that we are really seeing the trend and tackle it. And on the connection and purpose, as Irina mentioned, it's really a big trend. With lockdown and isolation, people are craving for connection. They really want to be part of something, with all these, bad news and difficult times, they are looking for positive examples and companies that are doing more than really sell products, no? And here is where also Avon, put our purpose into the heart to really, build a better world for women, to really continue to fight for women, especially now in the pandemic, that we see that women have been disproportionately affected, with all the pandemic.
And at Accenture, Katherine?
Yes, at Accenture, we're seeing similar trends, really. So, big trends around people being connected, as both Fernanda and Irina have said. Lots of focus on the family, putting the family at the heart and making sure that self-care and health is really predominant. And we've seen that consumers have been saying they're really going to continue to take better care of their physical and mental health as the pandemic eases. So we're seeing that they want to really benefit from social connection, and a number of different organizations start to think about how they can take experiences into the consumers' homes. So perhaps taking the hair salon experience or the nail salon experience into consumers' homes and allowing them to have the full experience, be able to ask questions, be able to get guidance, but also share that experience with their family, and as restrictions lift, with their friends more broadly as well.
And how is Avon responding to this social connection, Angela?
Thank you, Siobhan. Actually, Irina, Katherine, Fernanda, you are all very right. It's something amazing that happens in the beauty industry. The color of the makeup, it's not defining beauty any longer. We see the well-being transcending, not only at the level of the health of an individual, but the health of a community, the health of our planet. It's maybe, this true force for good. So beauty is taking a role like never before. It goes from the shallow beauty on the way we appear in front of the others, to beauty as a statement of how I contribute to the others. And we see all these trends, and at Avon, we really took this exercise to reassess what's truly important. How we at Avon can give back more than what we take. We had this strong legacy as transforming women's lives for 135 years, but we now believe that the topic of us empowering women, understanding that doing better for them, we do better for the world, it's more relevant than ever. And you heard it from Irina as well. People are craving purpose, personalization, convenience, flexible ways to shop and earn. And Avon can play that role, really creating this exciting value proposition for both beauty consumers, but as well for our beauty advisors, millions of representatives around the world who found a way of earning and learning, by sharing beauty with their friends. So both through the business model, through this democratic access to world-class quality and innovation in beauty, we find our role and relevance in supporting these trends that we see emerging stronger than ever in the beauty industry.
And Irina, in 2021, what are the key digital drivers assisting the ongoing evolution of retail?
Well, undeniably, digitalization witnessed one of the most profound shifts in the face of the pandemic and became a key enabler for access, virtual assistance, as well as personal engagement and community building. Now, the e-commerce acceleration that was predicted to take us over the next 5 to 10 years actually occurred in one single year. So online sales of beauty have now reached 30% globally in 2021. So building on that digital activation and the omni-channel strategies already observed pre-COVID will be vital, not for engaging just with the younger consumer cohorts, which are clearly more digitally adapted and so on, but also new adopters of digital among more senior demographics as a result of the crisis. And utilization of AR, VR, live streaming, shoppable social media definitely help build up that online presence. But beyond that, key focus should really remain on creating platforms that allow for more seamless product discovery, virtual assistance, and endorsing that communal and social aspect, bringing that human element into digital activity, if I can say so. And obviously, aside from digitally native and D2C brands and those that really have high footprint, digital footprint, are all benefiting from digitalization. But I would like to say here that direct sellers in particular also stand to benefit, especially those with that kind of high digital activation, because the social and peer-to-peer aspect is already embedded in their selling model.
And does this market intelligence reflect the outlook at Avon, Fernanda?
Yes, we have seen even before the pandemic, all the growth of digital channels and media. Especially for beauty, the main sources of credibility were already like family and friends in the first, and second, it was about digital influencers. And we see that the pandemic just accelerated this. But what we are seeing is that like even now the big influencers were lacking a bit of credibility. So it's really about, as Irina mentioned, create different platforms, go in different touch points and not just, in one or two. And this is where also, when you look at, as mentioned, the direct selling, or the way that we call now that is more relationship selling, the way to go directly to consumer, our model become even more relevant. Because when we talk about, for example, Avon digital representative, she's becoming even more credible and more relevant, because she can be like someone that you really trust, customize your content, give much more customized experience. So what we have seen is that it's really the trend, the digitalization and this way to invest in different platforms to really reach directly your consumer and be able to provide the best service and experience, in a more customized way.
And at Accenture, Katherine?
Yes, we've obviously also seen a huge rise in e-commerce uptake, big increase year on year, big increase in the number of infrequent or previously infrequent users who've turned to e-commerce, and finding consumers who perhaps previously only shopped infrequently online now being around 4 times more likely to purchase their makeup and personal care products online now. And we're seeing their expectations really of e-commerce being shaped across industry. So they're not looking at what they expect from a beauty manufacturer or from a clothes retailer in different ways. They're expecting the same kind of level of experience they have in their e-commerce shopping to be shaped. So the best experiences really need to translate across industry. We're also seeing obviously a huge rise in usage of digital enabled services. So lots of the technology around the beauty piece now being used by lots more consumers, lots of contactless shopping when consumers are out and about, big increase in social media shopping as well. And we're seeing organizations and retailers to respond to that by thinking about how they can better use their people during this time of the pandemic, but also ongoing, and perhaps moving some of their beauty advisors from stores to become online influencers. There's a couple of examples of organizations doing that so that they can really engage people virtually and drive their online sales.
And how is Avon responding to these digital drivers, Angela?
So as Fernanda was calling out, we started from before the pandemic, but now we've accelerated the pace. Avon has transformed from a ding-dong direct selling as for traditionally a direct selling company door-to-door to a digitally led beauty company, adding that, preserving that high-touch connection with our representatives. So this pandemic has really upped the pace for our digital makeover, because as you heard before, people are right now looking more, especially in beauty, for their beauty purchases. They are looking more to trusted sources like friends, family, influencers that they follow for a long time. So in this online world, we really see an opened up opportunity for sharing and recommending. And we have our millions of representatives, 5 million of representatives around the world, who are trusted advisors in their own micro community. So the way we equip them is with the right content and digital tools for them to share beauty in an omni-channel environment, including social media, with their own communities. And we've seen an immediate response with Avon's digital sales, with a growth of 130% in Q1 alone this year. And overall sales globally, we tripled versus where they were last year. And these trends will continue as long as the beauty players are looking not just creating the right digital access, but as well as Katherine was calling out, that kind of experience. So a distinct value proposition that will give our digital consumers an experience that they would like to come back to.
Irina, in 2021, which environmental drivers are impacting the ongoing evolution of retail?
Well, last year focused on the social issues and the local community support and the welfare of employees and consumers as well. But 2021 has starting to see a shift in focus towards the planet. So back to the environmental purpose, and a lot of pledges in action around climate change at the core. So as such, key areas of innovation will definitely be around carbon positive, carbon neutral supply chains, as well as assurance of safety and ethical sourcing, which is very much sought after by consumers at the moment. I mean, I would actually argue that there is a certain case against digitalization when it comes to environmental impact. We all know that sustainable e-commerce is quite challenging in respect to addressing issues such as excess packaging, carbon emissions, and single-use product packaging and secondary packaging as well. And last year saw the kind of further uptick of click and collect or curbside pickup models, which effectively decrease last mile delivery and reduces packaging. So that really transformed the landscape in North America and Latin America, for example. But on the flip side, there are also a lot of positives and a lot of opportunities coming out of those challenges. And sampling is one example, which is another huge challenge in terms of waste reduction. So product testers that were removed from storefronts, obviously creating some potential detrimental impacts, on the environment, leading to increased production of mini-size samples. But we're already observing shifts towards kind of more personalized sampling based on users' data through online quizzes, integrating virtual consultations, and really some interesting novel digital sampling technologies in order to reduce packaging and waste.
And does this market intelligence reflect the outlook at Avon, Fernanda?
We see that sustainability is a must, as Irina mentioned. Consumers are much more aware of the brand's impacts on the environment than even before. And we see that the concept now, it's much more broader. In the past, when we talked about sustainability or environmental impact, consumers tended to just think about recyclable packaging, for example. But now we see that they are much more aware and they are thinking much more broader in terms of the whole impact into the world, from climate change to animal testing, for example. And we need, as citizens, as individuals and companies, to really think about future generations. And we are seeing that like many companies are taking this much more seriously. As example, in the case of Avon, we have short and long-term goals, but we are seeing like much more companies start to think about this, from packaging to carbon footprint and other things.
And at Accenture, Katherine?
Yes, our research that we've done has shown some very similar themes. We're definitely seeing people wanting to create a more equal world for future generations. A recent study, we saw 62% of people saying they would increase their focus on the environment. And I think what's interesting is that they, or at least 7 in 10 consumers, are expecting brands to play a role in that. So they're expecting brands to do more to make it easier to buy and to consume sustainably. We're seeing people shopping locally more and wanting to shop locally more. Searches for supporting small businesses rose considerably over the last year or so. And we're actually seeing large companies partnering with local communities to support more local offerings. And another trend, as mentioned before as well, I think is around the recycling piece. And we're seeing organizations group together to offer recycling facilities, so circular delivery services that replace single-use disposable packaging are becoming much more mainstream.
And how is Avon responding to these environmental drivers, Angela?
We co-create our future and impact together with the group. We are part of the Natura & Co. We are deeply believing that business can be a force for good. So we are truly committed to tackle some of these very urgent issues facing people and planet. In 2020 alone, we reduced our carbon emissions by 20% at Avon. We increased our total recycling rate to 90% and reduced the water intensity by 40%. But our goals are to become a B Corp along with our sister brands by 2023. And by 2030, we want to be net zero on carbon emissions, have 100% of all packaging material to be reusable, recyclable, or compostable, and as well to have a zero waste to landfill by 2025. So our mission is be best beauty company for the world.
And talking about the world, Fernanda, in 2021, what are the governmental drivers aiding or abetting the ongoing evolution of retail?
Yeah, we have seen that it has been a very challenging moment for government. They had to make very difficult decisions like lockdowns, close retails, and we saw that some managed very well, but others not so much. But what we saw is that in the end, there has been a big cooperation of government, retail, private sector to really fight the pandemic. So we have seen that many companies changed even the core business to really put for the purpose to fight the pandemic. For example, in the case of Avon, we changed some productions line to produce hand sanitizers. And what we have seen in the retail is that they also worked together with the government and adapt to this new situation. So I believe that in the future, the corporations, the private sector and government will work much more together. So this is the first pace for future cooperation, much more cooperation than we have seen before.
And working together, do you see that at Accenture, Katherine?
Yes, I think we do. I think, as Fernanda said, obviously the government's had to make some very hard decisions. And as a result, there are a number of our consumers who are very worried about the economy, particularly low-income households, people who are worried about their financial situation, and in some parts, people with decreased disposable income. So I think it's really critical that the government does work together with private companies to try and support those who are facing challenges, and that we're able to then perhaps return growth into the retail sector across the board, across all segments of consumers.
And how is Avon responding to these governmental drivers, Angela?
So outside of what you've just already heard from Fernanda, I would call out the co-creation, the collaboration we have with the governments around the globe to really look at the opportunity to support people who have been impacted by pandemic losing their job. And we know that women have been disproportionately impacted. And we are not looking only to consumers and ensuring we democratize and then create an open access, yes, with affordable prices to top class innovation. We equally opened up our business model, creating a very easy access for especially women who have been impacted by the pandemic job losses, and offering them opportunities to earn by sharing beauty with their friends. And with this micro-entrepreneurial support, we positioned ourselves as strong collaborators in between private and public sector to support the overall microeconomy's resilience during these unprecedented times.
Irina, how could or should beauty retailing evolve over the next 12 months?
I see the future reality of beauty being in the phygital space, that blended environment. I would say that there is a slight counter argument here in respect to the notion of a full-scale digitalization. As with every peak, we're bound to see a certain backlash to an all digital mindset. The pandemic really highlighted the stronger appreciation of health and, as we mentioned, self-care and wellness, more time with family and friends, and there's certain preferences pointing towards simplification, and that includes aims to moderate digital exposure. So many consumers are craving to return back to stores and the experiences, physical experiences, but retailer storefronts will need to reinvent their operational and engagement formats. As such, I see increased investment in those phygital environments while creating even more interactive digital experiences. Some of Euromonitor's figures are a clear testament to this. At least half of beauty companies surveyed in our Voice of the Industry survey stated that they would implement digital strategies to embrace that new phygital reality, from contactless experiences to deployment of AR, VR, to integrate actual virtual processes in physical spaces. So as such, we're looking at a new hybrid model. The importance of physical storefront remains, but digital will have a key role in the space of discovery still, that kind of fun element of engagement and creating the excitement of novelty. And ultimately fill some of those gaps in the sensorial space, which previously was offered largely in store.
And for you, Fernanda?
Yeah, I hope that the pandemic brings lots of innovation. As Irina mentioned, in terms of digitalization, digital experience, new technology, but also in terms of products and how we interact with consumers. When we talk about products, I really hope to see more and more products that are related, that are more sustainable, but also related to some of the big issues that we see in the world. And in our case, like try to have more and more products that bring best quality in a very affordable and sustainable way. Because one thing, as we talked about, the trends, we see that consumers are becoming more smart. They will not, they want things that really, meet their needs, but also are good, sustainable and affordable, and worth to pay. And also in terms of interaction, bring more inclusivity, more representation, and also see all the companies being much more linked to their purpose. In our case, really put women in the heart and continue to fight for, the causes that are most important for them.
And for you, Katherine?
So we're seeing 4 likely evolutions of the industry moving forward, some in the nearer term, some a little bit longer term. The first one really picks up on what Fernanda was saying about inclusivity, where we're seeing the importance of really designing a product or a service from the beginning with inclusiveness built in. So really ensuring that it is appropriate for all groups of people, all types of people, right from the start. We're also expecting online experiences to continue to evolve, and probably to become even more sensational. And by that, I mean experiences that we look at through more than our eyes. So how will we build smell? How will we build touch into our online experiences, really fusing that physical and digital together, and making it a full experience for someone who may not be doing it in a retail environment. And the third one taps into the environmental piece we were talking about earlier, which is all around track, tracing, and trust. So the sustainability aspect, really understanding the provenance of products and ensuring they're authentic. So maybe using QR codes, for example, to find out and understand the story behind the product. And the last one looks at the DIY aspect. So we've talked a lot about having people at home doing more experiencing at home. How can we bring the whole experience to them in the home? So in the drinks industry, for example, bars are now coming into the home. Some of the beauty organizations are bringing the full consultation into the home, some through subscription services. So we expect an evolution in that space as well.
And for Avon, Angela?
Thank you, Siobhan. I couldn't agree more with everything that we've heard so far. Indeed, you see this need to, for instant gratification, immersive experience, omni-channel access, distinct value proposition. But what is really coming, and how I started the call today, it's this emerging demand from consumers to really look at beauty much deeper than skin. And that is the understanding that beauty only comes with dignity, with well-being, with freedom, with equality, with really ensuring that they have human rights. So there is an expectation that beauty companies are stepping up, really showing their value to the communities they serve, through the voice that they share, yes, but as well with the position that they take to ensure that beauty is not just skin deep. So beauty, it's coming to mean so much more. And I'm very excited about these trends because that will enable all of us, yes, in this industry to step up our game and contribute more to the planet and people and communities.
And with that, I would like to thank Irina, Fernanda, Katherine, and Angela for their inspiring insights in the evolution of beauty retailing, and to you for listening.